Hello and welcome to Soul in Balance, and in this video we will be going over Venus in Partner's 12th house and what to expect with this mystical and heavily soul contracted placement. Now, it isn't as hard as the infamous 8th house, but the 12th house is equally difficult in its own way. Now, the 12th house, if we have a look at it, let's have a look at the 12th house person's area of life. So this is where the 12th house person doesn't have the ability to see what's going on. It's pretty much the house of the unconscious, the collective unconscious, what we can't see. It's also like the cosmic womb, where we have soul contracts, karmic contracts, where we unconditionally love. It's also got to do with mental health. It's also got to do with, solitude, and also endings and where things go to dissipate. It's, healing, our psychic connections, and it's where we don't have very good boundaries as well. So, the 12th house is quite difficult for somebody. So it can be difficult for both. It can be difficult for the Venus person and the 12th house person. We just have to, check the dynamics there. But ultimately, I feel like this can go both ways. I've definitely been both, and I've definitely seen a lot of clients that have both. So I've got Neptune opposite my sun and Mars and conjunct my moon. So I'm born on an eclipse. So I'm just heavily Neptunian. So I completely understand. And Pisces also rules my 10th house. So I understand this very well. So just understanding with this relationship, if we think about the lessons, it's all about healing and letting go and trusting the universe. It's like a fish. You can't, or catching a fish in water, you just can't. People obviously do, but it's difficult to hold a fish in your hands because they're slippery. It's really just about just letting the relationship flow and do what it needs to do. Because this is the house of endings and dissolving and closing off a cycle. So we're closing off a cycle here, obviously if someone's Venus is in your 12th house, this is a relationship where we've had many past lives together and we're closing off this certain cycle, this certain way of operating with each other. So we need to understand that. So there are going to be situations where, this does work out and we end up marrying the person, or it's just a lesson to help us on our way, or just to close off that cycle. And, maybe we'll see each other again next life and be starting a new cycle. So it's very important that this is just a place where we can't hold on to anything. It's like sand. We have to just let it do what it needs to do. And just understanding, this can be, heavily karmic. So whatever is going on in this house, we just have to be really cautious and come from a very loving and unconditional place. Because we do see here, a lot of relationships that are hidden. It could be because, it doesn't fit in with our day-to-day routine, or it's not acceptable with the status quo. Maybe it's got to do with, cultures and religions and, marrying a certain caste, and, you can't be together because you have to hide that relationship or something like that. Or it could be, the Venus person's in the 12th house and that house person's married or has another partner and things like that. So, but I do want to say, if you are the Venus person or the house person and you're wanting to be with somebody who's married or in another relationship, get the hell out of there. That has more to do with your healing than that relationship. People that go for people that are in relationships to get that validation, if that person leaves somebody for somebody else, that's childhood stuff that needs healing. That's self-love stuff, inner child stuff that needs to be worked on. So it's very important that we let that go, because it's the 12th house. It's very karmic. We don't want to be having then that happen to us, or we have to deal with that next lifetime to deal with that karma. There's so many people out in the world. We do not need to hold on to this placement because we can't. And I understand, I'm heavily Neptunian, mystical fantasy spiritual type as well. So I understand, but we need to understand as spiritual souls and beings, that we are infinite, and in, the cosmic womb, in the universe, we are loved by all souls, and we come down here to learn lessons. And, we, especially when it's 12th house in Venus, we've come here to just be with each other in its truest form, in unconditional form, and let it flow how it needs to. And I can't go on about that anymore, but this is a very deeply connected position. Like there's songs that remind you of each other, that definitely speak to each other in such a heartfelt way. Maybe if one partner's not feeling okay, the other one feels it, or constantly dreaming of each other, or know what each other's going to say. Like there's this very psychic and intuitive connection that you will always have. Like you will always have that psychic connection to each other. So this is why it's really important that we don't get to focus on this 3D world and things not coming into form, because this relationship is very ethereal, and it will work better for two people that are heavily Neptunian, but it doesn't always, but it can. We also need to understand too that, like the Venus person can feel a little bit rejected, because this can be the place of unrequited love, because it's in somebody's 12th house and what they can't see. And if that person's not heavily Neptunian or have much Neptune stuff going on, that Venus person can feel a little bit left out in the cold or not really noticed. So that's one of the difficult things about this placement. But what is really beautiful is what Venus does offer is, just their beautiful understanding and care of what they find that the house person can't see. So, if we think about it, like the house person has all this stuff that they haven't dealt with. It's all just in the back. It's in the back of their mind. And the Venus person just walks in there and it's just like, what is all this stuff going on? What is all this? This is all lying around. Like you could integrate this and put it into your life and do great in this area, but you've got it stored in your cupboard here, like, so Venus is really great with, beautifying that storage cupboard in the back and bringing things out and saying, hey, you could really use this or transmute this and heal in this way and do this. So Venus being here can be really beautiful, but it also can be really triggering. There are just some people that just aren't ready to go on the healing journey this lifetime. And that might be their soul contract. Maybe in a previous lifetime, they dealt with all their stuff. They had to do the hard yards. They were on the prepaid plan with Pluto, and this lifetime, they just want to be a little bit more ignorant and have a bit more of an easier life, have a bit of a rest. So we have to be understanding of everybody's journey. And I feel like, when it's Venus in the 12th house, we are very understanding of each other. It's very much an unconditional placement to have. But if we do have a 12th house person that is really interested in doing the work, the spiritual stuff, and integrating themselves, the Venus person being here can really help them heal and integrate what they really need to integrate this lifetime, because the Venus person has such easy access to this area of life, because it's what is natural to them. It's what they find beautiful. Like they feel that this area of life is really, really beautiful. So it's just a very deeply bonded, very spiritual connection that I always believe has a lot of past life stuff connected to it. But will it work out in a 3D sense this lifetime? We don't know. And we just have to throw it up to the universe and just trust that if it's meant for us, it's meant for us, and like maybe the Venus person might like to be more noticed, like maybe the Venus person, maybe it's the Venus in Leo, and the Venus in Leo wants to be, the main character, like wants to be adored and loved and what would you say, grand gestures of love, and it's in someone's 12th house. It's just like, no, I want their Venus to be better suited in someone's first house. So we just have to let things flow. And with this aspect, we have to trust that, whatever cycle's closing, a new one is beginning. And, next lifetime we'll be with each other again. you know, and I also found with this kind of position that if you deeply love someone and it doesn't work out, somebody that's kind of similar will come along, but then it is more based in the 3D. But anyway, I don't want to go too much into that. But I just feel like the lessons for this placement for both, not just for Venus or the house person, is just to surrender and let things be. Like what I've said this whole time is just, you know, that you can't hold on to sand, you can't hold on to a fish, you know, you just have to let it flow. And yeah, to let go and trust the universe, and be really careful of illusions and delusions. With this placement, we can heavily project onto each other because it's the house of the unconscious. So we're unconsciously projecting our own trauma or our own fantasies onto the partner. And you know, then we have these realizations. So maybe an eclipse happens, or maybe there's a Venus retrograde or a Mercury retrograde, and you know, the wall is finally pulled from our faces and we can see the reality of the relationship. So this is very much a situation where, you know, like it can be quite frightening when we're really looking at the reality of the relationship. And illusions and delusions are also with escapism. You know, this can be a placement where, you know, we just want to escape from our life, or something's not going right in our life, or we're not addressing the stuff going on in our life. So we run to a relationship to escape how we're feeling. And this will happen when you're heavily Neptunian. Trust me, I've done it all my life. So just also pay attention to this. Do I really love this person? Am I loving myself? Is my life functioning the way it should? Why I want it functioning? Do I love my life and then not need that person to escape how I'm feeling right now? So please pay attention to this. I think a lot of people, when it comes to the 12th house and Venus, they just want this beautiful soul contract, unconditional love story. And it's not, you know, there's definitely like a balance here. There's this pendulum that swings. So just make sure that it's real love and not escapism, that you're not running into your fantasy world to escape what's going on in your life. You know, this is super, super, super important, because no soul can save you. No one can make your life better. You have to make your life great. And, you know, then we come together in union, because the thing is, it's heavily karmic as well. So if we're skipping out on ourselves, we're escaping ourselves and running to love, to make someone else love us so we feel loved, it's all a mirror. That person's going to do the same to us. That person's going to skip out on us or leave us because we're leaving ourselves to have somebody love us. So it's very, very important to get that. And I hope I've made sense. But if you want me to, you know, go over this again or do another video about this, I can just put it in the comments. But just very, very important that we really are trying to base this relationship in the 3D reality, and that we're loving ourselves and we're coming together because we both love ourselves, not to save each other. You know, we can also see with this placement as well is you know, like alcoholism, drug addiction, sex addiction, you know, any kind of escapism. So one or both partners might have some kind of addiction problem. Not always, but, you know, the 12th house is heavily associated with, you know, addictions. And, you know, the Venus person might come in and want to help save the 12th house person, or it could be the 12th house person wanting to save the Venus person from their addictions. So look, I don't know. I just feel like it's a very beautiful placement. It is very difficult. It can be very heartbreaking, but it really is just a lesson in loving ourselves, doing our own healing, and just trusting the universe and, you know, what we've came down here to do this lifetime, you know. But anyway, I hope that was helpful, guys, and I'll see you soon. Bye.